right. Hello, everyone. Yes, can say hi in the chat. Hey, Madison. Welcome to the Ventures Industry Challenge information session. We're really excited to have you all here, and we're really excited to share with you the amazing partners we have put this together with. So we're just going to wait maybe one more minute to get started, just to let everyone in from the waiting room, and we'll start. Hello, Consuelo. Hello, Sarab. Hey, Luongta.
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Good to see the Aussie there. G'day, Liam.
Hey, Liam. Absolutely. Hello, Luis. Hello, all. Thank you so much for joining us. We still have people joining in. It's really exciting. Right, I think so I'm gonna get started, and we'll let people join in as we advance. So welcome to the Ventures Industry Challenge information session. It is our first industry challenge, so we are very, very excited to share this with you and share the partners and the really amazing challenge that you will be able to work on over the semester. So before we start on the actual challenge, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and their custodianship of the lands in which we meet today. I pay our respect to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connections to country. We recognize their valuable contributions to Australian and global society. I would like now to introduce and to welcome Dr. Jessica Gallagher, Pro-Vice Chancellor for Global Engagement and Entrepreneurship. And she'll introduce the 2020 Ventures Industry Challenge, and she'll share a little bit more about why we're all meeting today.
So thanks so much, Thomas, and welcome everybody. It's great to have so many of you online this afternoon to launch, as Thomas said, the first Ventures Industry Challenge. This has been a concept that Kylie Cooper, who's on the line, myself and members of the venture team have been working through for the past 12 months. And so it's great that it's finally starting, and we could not do this without some amazing partners that you're going to hear more from this afternoon. We're absolutely delighted to be collaborating with the team at WaterStart for this first Ventures Challenge, and also their member organisations, Urban Utilities, SEQ Water and Unity Water. We're all here today because we need teams of innovative thinkers that span multiple discipline areas to come together to help solve one of the world's biggest challenges, water scarcity. Water is something that many of us take for granted. However, it's the world's most precious resource. Australia is regarded as the world's driest inhabited continent, and it's only getting drier. At the same time, we're one of the world's thirstiest countries in terms of per capita water consumption. So what do we do? How do we tackle this water scarcity? This is a challenge that's absolutely ripe for innovative thinking, as we know that there's not just one answer that's going to be required to steer us in the right direction here. This is a problem well and truly worth solving, and we believe in the creativity and critical thinking of our talented students to come up with some absolutely fantastic solutions. Through the Ventures Challenge, the team, and many of them are online today, this afternoon, so wanting to acknowledge Thomas, Kylie, Emily, Nimrod, and there'll be many others that you'll engage with over the next few months that will provide you with support, including access to tools and techniques for entrepreneurial thinking, and an opportunity to meet with leading academics, researchers, and industry mentors to test your assumptions and to really think through your ideas. But as always, before we can solve a problem, we have to really understand what it is first. So that's the focus of today's session, and we thank our industry collaborators for taking time to be with you here today to talk you through some of the really significant problems that we're hoping to get to leverage your bright minds to help us solve. such a great opportunity to show what amazing talent we have across UQ and what UQ students can do and make to really ensure that we have a real difference. And there's lots of benefits obviously for connecting, and we do have a great prize pool, which we're going to talk you through in a little bit as well. So that's all for me. At this stage, I wanted to say firstly, congratulations on taking this first step. Really looking forward to connecting with you over the next few months. Take this opportunity today to learn more about the challenge. For those that might have colleagues, peers that are interested in engaging, please spread the word. We want you to form teams and bring in as many disciplinary perspectives as possible so that we can really develop some of these fantastic innovative ideas and solutions. I look forward to seeing the results of the process and cheering you on throughout the journey, because really together I do think that we can create positive change. So thank you and good luck, and looking forward to hearing all of your amazing thoughts over the next few weeks and months. Thanks so much, Thomas.
Thank you, Jess. Thanks for that introduction. I think by now everyone can see how excited we are about this. You can tell sort of our excitement and passion in how we're talking about these things. And now I'm probably going to get even more passionate, because I want to introduce you to some of the perspectives in this challenge we come across us. And I was going yesterday through some websites, and I came across this concept of problem-led leadership. So these are people who want to lead while they solve problems, and they let the problems inspire others. It's not about their own charisma. It's about challenging and going to solve these big, wicked problems. That's how they can exercise these leadership skills and problem-solving skills. So this is an amazing opportunity to put yourself out there, to work with teams, go work with multidisciplinary teams like Jess mentioned, and see how it goes, and grow your skills in problem solving, but also in how to tackle these wicked problems. It's not just the everyday problems. It's very big, complex problems, and we'll help you go through that. So of course, we are facing natural disasters and climate change, and we're facing water pollution. There's the challenge of how can we engage with the community. A lot of these water challenges, and we'll have our partners talk about this in detail, but a lot of these challenges we won't be able to solve just one company, just the government. It will have to involve the community. It will involve all of us. So we need different skills. It's not just about an engineering problem. It's not an IT problem. It's also a human resources problem. It's also a behavioral problem. And we have some really cool things in the session about that. And also the sort of the water quality and how we can access and how we drink it. We get used to just opening the tap, getting drinkable water. This needs to be challenged. And I think this is going to be challenged. And you'll hear from a lot of people that are working really hard so that we can still open the tap and get the water. But what if that changes? How is life? How does that look like when suddenly these sort of untapped, this unchallenged water supply? What if it changes? It's a very different world. So we've identified this challenge. Water scarcity is coming up. I also saw a report. Australia is going into potentially another 10-year drought. So this is going to get more and more challenging, and that is a dire scenario. But it's an opportunity to step up, to take leadership, to take ownership, and to practice these skills. While you do that, you can also access some amazing prizes. We want to thank our partners and also Ventures and UQ. This is an amazing prize, really, to be honest. So the first team is going to take $10,000, second place $3,000, third place $2,000. But I want to go beyond, because it's not only about getting the prize. It does not end when you get a prize or when you finish the program. It is only the beginning, because then is when you have to start the actual work, the actual implementation. And that's where you will be able to engage potentially with more customers, or you can find a customer throughout the program in our partners as well. So this is a great opportunity to kickstart it, to just kickstart something that is a lot bigger than just a competition, a lot bigger than just putting together a team in the university. And it can go a lot beyond that. And I think we have incredible partners to make that happen. And I would like to start by introducing, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Kim and Andrew. It's been fantastic to work with both of you in implementing this and sort of making this a reality when we started to think about it. Kim and Andrew are part of WaterStart. WaterStart is a not-for-profit water innovation agency. They provide a challenge for accelerating the adoption of water technologies driven by the needs of water agencies and large consumers. So they are right up our alley, and I think we found a great match. So Andrew and Kim, I'll let you take it from here.
Terrific. Thomas, thank you very much for that awesome intro. I think I might have to hire you permanently. I would like to echo Dr. Jessica Gallagher's words as well, because we're living in some interesting times. But today I am incredibly excited, and I can't hide it, which is the theme of that particular wonderful song, because today we're not just talking to UQ, we're talking to UQ's combined capability of the student population and the strength and capability of the faculties and the organisation right across the entire university. That will ultimately help us solve water scarcity challenges and strengthen collaboration across the water sector, which is really what today is all about. I really am very keen to introduce you to our key partners. Today, you're going to hear from the leading water sector organisations. And as students of UQ, it's your opportunity to really have a great listen to the challenges and the priorities that exist within the water sector, and to take the opportunity to ideate solutions and develop concepts and ideas, particularly around sort of 5 core areas, certainly around water supply and distribution, wastewater management, meeting population demands, compliance with strict water quality parameters, supporting the industry with how we handle natural events, including droughts, floods, fires, pandemics, and now facing economic implications of a quickly and fast changing environment. So it really is my great pleasure today to introduce you to 5 fantastic organisations, 3 of which will be presenting to you this afternoon. First up, there's a great team of people here from the Department of Natural Resources, Mines and Energy. So DNRME, as they are called, who are also sponsoring this event, act as the water sector regulator here in Queensland and provide policy and information about the management and use of Queensland's water. So welcome to the team from DNRME. We also have as a sponsor here today the Department of State Development, Tourism and Innovation. This wonderful department is responsible for economic strategy, industry stimulation and infrastructure and planning in Queensland, and are a terrific sponsor of entrepreneurship, innovation and incubation hubs around the state. So we really welcome the department as a sponsor as well. We have 3 fantastic organisations that perform amazing products and services to the water sector right across Queensland. And it's my great honour to introduce you to who'll be doing our first speaking today from Seqwater. And Seqwater is Queensland's bulk water supply authority. And Dr. Paul Fisher is one of Australia's leading specialists when it comes to how Seqwater provides us with great services. It's a geographically dispersed organisation, and it's one that is really responsible for safe, reliable and affordable bulk drinking water to about 3.2 million people across Queensland. So Paul has a large job within the organisation, and it's my great honour to welcome him today. We also have Unity Water. So Unity Water provides customers in the Moreton Bay, Noosa and Sunshine Coast regions with high quality, safe, reliable drinking water and sewage services. with an amazing focus on economic and environmental sustainable solutions. And Unity Water, of course, are a member of ours and are providing some amazing insights today relevant to environmental sustainability solutions. And thirdly, Urban Utilities is a great organisation that's also responsible for supplying drinking water, recycled water and sewage services to about 1.5 million customers in Southeast Queensland. And they're one of Australia's largest water distributor retailers here in Australia. So without any further ado, I'd like to finish there and say this is a great opportunity with some wonderful industry partners, and I'm really looking forward to the student population engaging with them accordingly.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you for having me come and talk today. My name is Paul Fisher, and I'm the Program Lead for Technology and Innovation at SEQ Water. Could we go to the next slide, please? So I thought just to start off, Thomas has already done a bit of an introduction, but just to really give a bit of a summary, what is the water cycle? So in its most simplistic form, the water cycle is precipitation or rain coming down into our land and catchments, traveling to creeks and rivers into the ocean, and then we have evaporation that then starts the whole cycle again and leads to precipitation again. Superimposed on top of that is, I guess, all the services for drinking water and wastewater management and stormwater management in that system. And the idea is to really do that in harmony with the natural cycle. So the next question you might be thinking about, well, why do we need to manage that? Well, as Thomas said, water is essential for life. I mean, you can go without electricity for quite a while, but you can't go without water for more than a day, really. So it's a really important service, and something that we don't often always think about, including myself. You know, you turn on the tap and you don't think of all the work that's gone into it to produce that tap water that you get, and you kind of take it for granted. And the same with, I guess, wastewater as well. You might flush the toilet and don't think about what happens to that, whereas a lot of work that goes into that to minimize, I guess, the environmental impact and really make sure this is in synergy with nature. I guess the other thing that you might be thinking about is why is this still an issue? We've really been managing the water cycle for so many years, so why are we still looking at it? Well, a lot of things change. I mean, there's no industry, I guess, on the planet that's the same as it was 100 years ago. Things keep evolving. There's a greater push for sustainability in the industry, and there's new improvements and new ways of doing things. So it's continually changing, and as an industry, we have to adapt with that. Maybe if we can go to the next slide, please. So as an overview for SEQ Water, as Andrew said, SEQ Water is the Queensland Government Bulk Water Supply Authority for South East Queensland. We service 3.2 million people across South East Queensland. And our operations extend from Gympie to the north to the New South Wales border to the south, and from the ocean to the base of the Toowoomba Ranges. We provide treated water to 5 water service providers. We provide essential flood mitigation services. We manage the catchment health, so make sure that the water in our catchment is of the highest water quality. And we also offer recreational facilities, and hopefully some of the people attending today have at least been to some of our facilities, and you can go kayaking and you can enjoy, I guess, the natural resources that they provide. We also provide water for irrigation for 1,200 farmers across 7 water supply sectors. Just to give you an idea of the stats that's involved in our organisation, we have $12 billion worth of water supply assets. We have 26 dams that we manage, 51 weirs, 31 water treatment plants, and 2.7 million visitors to our catchments every year. If we can go to our next slide, please. So as I've mentioned, we supply treated water to 5 regional water service providers, 2 of which we're lucky enough to have joined us today, so Unity Water and Urban Utilities. We also manage the water grid. So for those that aren't aware, so in Southeast Queensland, we have the 600-kilometre bi-directional pipelines that travel around in the region to really help move water in that region to make it a more resilient water supply, so it can accommodate for changes in demand or changes in localized rainfall patterns. In addition, we supply water to 16 off-grid communities as well. We can go to the next slide. So where do we get our source water from? So the ones you're probably more familiar with is surface water, so dams and rivers, which we manage. We also have groundwater supplies. We can also get drinking water from the sea through desalination. And in the future, we have the option of purified recycled water as well. The key infrastructure for this is obviously dams, the water treatment plants, which treat the water and get it to drinking water quality. For those who may live in the Gold Coast, you might know of the Gold Coast desalination plant, which is down in that region. We also have the Western Corridor Recycled Water Scheme, which includes the advanced water treatment plants to create purified recycled water. It's also important here to mention that our catchments are quite extensive. So our water comes from catchments that cover 1.2 million hectares of land, and SEQ Water only owns 65,000 hectares of that land. So one of the key challenges, and we spend, I guess, quite a bit of money on just trying to manage those natural assets with the partners and the owners of that land to make sure that we're really keeping that source water quality as pristine as we can. Can we go to the next? Yep. So I just want to talk a bit now about water security. So SEQ Water has a water security program, which you can go to our website and read, but the key message of the water security program is to provide safe, reliable drinking water for Southeast Queensland over the next 30 years. Now there's a lot of challenges which are, you know, focus on the main challenges that I'll talk about later in doing this, one of them being planning for population growth. As Andrew said, currently we service around 3.2 million people or users, and by 2028 it's expected that number will increase by an additional 750,000 people. Now, that might not sound like much, but that means that we have to produce an extra 132 million litres of water per day just to satisfy that increase in population. And by 2041, the population is expected to increase by just over another million people as well. On top of that, we're also having to plan for quite a variable climate that we have in Southeast Queensland. So one moment we can have floods, and the next moment we can have droughts. So we do live in a region in Australia that we have an actual variable climate. If you add on top of that the potential for climate change and the impacts of that, there's lots of things that we need to try to plan for. So whether that means that is an increase in temperature going to affect the amount that people drink or how much water they use? Is the increase in temperature going to affect how much evaporation we get from our storages and water loss? Is there going to be changes to the climate, so the amount of rainfall we get, which might lead into droughts? And are there any knock-on effects that might impact water quality? And then lastly, linked into this is just planning for an uncertain future. With anything, when you're trying to plan into the future, where we try to forecast what the demand might be in the future and also try to work out what the changing needs might be. So how will customers use water in the future? So if we could just maybe go to the next slide. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a summary of, I guess, some of the innovative applications that we're involved in at the moment at SEQ Water. So I guess I've separated these out into categories. The first one is looking at safer ways of collecting catchment and water quality data. So we've invested money on research in designing this autonomous water quality monitoring device, which is we've shortened to SAMI, which you can see in the top right hand corner. So this device is able to go on our dams and catchments and do water quality testing when it's unsafe for humans to do so. So that might be in a very remote location it's difficult to get to, or after a flood when it's actually too dangerous to get on our storages. But there could be some real value in getting that water quality data. So that's where SAMI can really step in and really help us out. We're trying to develop an improved understanding of the variable climate we have in Southeast Queensland. So Australia has about 100 years of data from the instrument record of measuring climate, but that's not a very long period of time to base, I guess, a lot of your assumptions on. So you can use paleoclimate data to increase that amount of data. So we can increase that by 900 additional years. So we're getting 1,000 years worth of data to really inform what the actual variability of our climate is and how regular floods might occur and how regular droughts might occur. We're utilising digital data and information management through trials using the building information modelling tool. So that's where we can have a water treatment plant and we make a 3D model of that water treatment plant. And all the information on that treatment plant and all the operations go into that model. So asset owners and operators can go into that model and just access that information in a very different way to, I guess, the paper-based system that probably is used in the past. And again, we're also doing trials on trying to improve operational efficiency. So SEQ Water pumps a lot of water around, so we always do trials on trying to really optimize the way that water's pumped around the network or in the organization to try to deliver the water as efficiently as possible. So we can go to the next slide, please. So this is my last slide. I just want to thank you for having me talk today. I would really recommend that you go to the SEQ Water website. There's a lot of information on there, fact sheets, there's videos, and yeah, there's a lot of additional information. I wanted to leave you, I guess, to think about for the rest of this session and the day and coming weeks about some of these challenges that we face. So how can we better understand future water demand? How might we utilize climate resilient water sources? So sources of water that aren't reliant on rainfall. How might we plan for the uncertainties of climate variability and change? How can we better manage aging infrastructure, and how can we use water and do the service that we provide as efficiently as possible? How can we manage changing land use and really protect our source water quality? We really want to maintain the quality of water that we have or improve it. And then lastly, just how do we use this new area of digital data information systems and AI in water management? Thank you very much. Looking forward to questions later.
Thank you, Paul. That's thanks for those challenges. I think yeah, for everyone out there that this is starting to fire some thoughts. What's amazing is you get the challenges from our partners, but you're also going to get the mentoring and the support. So so don't be scared to face these questions, because then you'll get the support on the process from the UK Ventures, but then you'll be able to talk to them again to make sure that you get a good understanding of the problem. Thank you so much, Paul, for that. So coming up, we have Sonia Toft, the General Manager for Urban Utilities, and Justin Hunter as well, who's a project engineer also over at Urban Utilities. I'll pass it on to them, and I'm sure they'll do a better sort of introduction. We already heard what Urban Utilities does, so they'll be talking a little bit about the work they do.
Thank you, Thomas. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so so Urban Utilities, yeah, next slide, is one of the major water utilities in Southeast Queensland. So if you live in Brisbane, Urban Utilities likely services, you know, where you live. So just some stats there. We provide water and sewage services. So Paul was talking about the water cycle. So once the water comes to your house, then the used water is, we collect it in the catchment. We service over 1.4 million residents. So it's a geographically a broad area, from Kilcoy in the north down to Boona in the south, Esk in the east, and there's a map there just to have a look. Next slide, please. So Paul talked about the importance of providing water to humans, which is essential. Also essential is what we do with the used water. So once the water is used in homes and businesses and industries, it's called wastewater or used water. So it is collected and comes to the treatment plant. So wastewater is mostly water. It's 99% water, but it's made up of other things. And these are the pollutants or the things that we need to remove before we discharge it then into the environment. So primarily wastewater treatment was developed to provide sanitation to protect the health of the community. So next slide, please. So the aim of wastewater treatment in a nutshell, so we get the wastewater, the used water coming to the treatment plant. It's 99% water. However, we need to remove those pollutants before we discharge it into the environment. So all the different stages of the treatment process is generally about dividing up the liquid stream, which then can either go into the environment or is reused, and the solid stream, which is the biosolids. So it's about providing a health protection, and also very importantly about protecting the environment as well. So traditionally wastewater treatment was a linear sort of process. It was collection from the catchment and then discharge into the sea. But this has changed over time. So for the next slide. So this is quite a busy slide. It's just, it shows all the kind of different units of the process in a wastewater treatment plant, but it's just a schematic to show you that there's various stages and parts of a treatment process that we've added in to add value in terms of recovering the resources. So, such as nutrients, biosolids, and treating the water to be reused. So next slide. So wastewater treatment has evolved into recovering resources. So we get a constant stream of really valuable resources coming into our plants. Water is the main one, and certainly in the drought, the value of water for irrigating golf courses, farms and sports field is really important. We also produce a solid stream that's rich in organics and nutrients, which we then apply to land. However, there's other resources from the wastewater that we can utilise as well, such as nutrients and renewable energy. So you can see that the wastewater treatment is evolving over time. So the next slide, please. So quite a busy slide, but it's actually pretty indicative of all the stuff that's kind of going on now in the wastewater treatment industry. So there's a straight line that goes up the screen from the bottom diagonally up to the top. So that was our traditional kind of linear catchment to sea. So we no longer operate in that way. There's a whole lot of sort of internal loops. Top right, we've got water recycling, so advanced water treatment plants where we're recycling water to very high qualities to on purpose, to purpose. So top left, there's a circle around renewable energy and cogeneration, and then the bottom on the left, opportunities for different things that we can do with our biosolids to get the most value out of them and to recycle and return the benefits into the community. So the traditional view has really changed. We are providing a paper from WASA, the Water Services Association of Australia, about this circular economy and how it applies to the water industry. and that's got some, you know, some further reading for you about that. So the next slide from here, Justin, the R&D engineer from our team, is going to talk a bit more about some of the alternatives and the innovative solutions for the challenges that we've got.
Cool. Thank you very much, Sonia. So basically, I'm just going to give a bit of a short presentation just over some of the key challenges and drivers. And first off, you know, challenges and drivers are actually something that's really, really good for businesses or organisations to face, because it really does drive innovation. And through innovation, you can always achieve, or you strive to achieve, better outcomes socially and environmentally, which is quite important. So with urban utilities, with, you know, expected population growth, it's a pretty common theme across both most utilities. There is always that pressure of increasing operating costs with that increased population. And also just that understanding of the environmental outcomes through processing that wastewater, trying to achieve better outcomes for the environment. It also creates that pressure for utilities to save costs, but also produce better treatment processes. Apologies, was my mic on mute?
No, all good.
Yep, so, you know, with expected population growth and changes to our catchment and water use profiles, this was actually seen recently with the COVID outbreak. So, for example, our largest treatment plant, because people were working from home, we had a change in the actual wastewater profile between our plants. And so some of our more smaller regional plants would see a greater load than what would be expected normally. And so with these pressures and drivers, we have to look at different options to kind of keep that cost of wastewater down, but also trying to improve environmental outcomes. Because even though there are capital solutions to provide these, to remove more nutrients, the cost, these conventional routes typically add this cost is then passed on to the customer itself. And so, you know, the ultimate solution is try something new. And so next slide, please. And so part of this trying something new, our innovation program has a lot in the pipeline, typically around, you know, adaptation to climate change, and then also looking at more intensification or, you know, getting more bang for your buck to provide, you know, better social and environmental outcomes. And so a part of one of these particular projects that we're currently underway with is NMOX, which is one of these process intensification processes, which will see our operational and operational costs come down, but also our capacity increase. Next slide, please. So NMOX was identified as a good solution, which fits quite well into our treatment process. So the typical wastewater process, it requires, like any process, you need energy, and it consumes chemicals, so that's cost. And so it was identified that NMOX, this centrate recycle stream, actually contributes significantly to the cost of running a treatment plant. And so NMOX is a new technology that's been established overseas, that was assessed and identified as a potential solution to actually reduce the cost of the treatment of this mainstream process. And so a part of that process, we started along that journey of the implementation of NMOX about 5 years ago, and we're currently in the final stages of actually implementing that new technology, which should see better outcomes in terms of lower operating costs and better effluent results as part of that. Next slide, please. And so just a quick overview. So NMOX is able to do this. As I said, it's about that process intensification technologies. So it uses less energy. It doesn't require additional chemicals, and it's compact systems. So when you compare it to conventional upgrades, you will see a reduced operating costs for the amount of nutrients treated, which obviously provides better outcomes for the customer with reduced costs or maintaining costs, and it gives us that lever to achieve better environmental outcomes. Next slide, please. And so the challenges that urban utilities face, which I've kind of briefed over with Sonia, is how do we provide community and services such as wastewater treatment and ensure that they can protect the environment while managing challenges such as climate change and aging infrastructure, all while not increasing the cost to customer. This might sound incredibly challenging, but it's something that we're all kind of facing at the moment. And it is particularly important that we investigate this because ultimately at the end of the day, if we need to reduce the cost but also provide those good environmental outcomes. The second challenge is how do water utilities embed themselves in resource recovery to ensure that finite resources such as phosphorus and water are recovered for the benefit of society. Again, this is a very important. So as Sonia explained, we receive a lot of those nutrients from a large catchment. And so it's therefore we should play an important part in trying to recycle these nutrients so that they can be reused again, and particularly as mentioned, phosphorus and water, which will be a scarce resource in the future. And finally, what role does water utilities such as urban utilities play in enhancing the livability of communities now into the future? Again, finally, urban utilities provides obviously services of wastewater and water services to the community. And then we receive those water, that wastewater, and then we obviously have to treat it to provide better outcomes to the environment, which ultimately have a massive social impact. So again, it's quite important, but a challenge nonetheless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia and Justin. If there was anyone out there who still thought that you grab the water, you pump it to your house, and then you flush the toilet and that goes straight to the river or the ocean, welcome to the water industry. This is amazing, but something that we are seeing in every presentation, I think it's the common thread here, is how much innovation is happening driven by the challenges. So this is amazing. Thank you, Justin and Sonia, for that. Coming up as our next speaker, we have Jana Dor. Jana is from Unity Water, and I'll let Jana take it from here.
Thanks, Tomas. I'm just going to apologise to everyone in advance on this call. I have a small snoring dog next to me, so if you can hear her in the background, please ignore it. She quite often gets in on my Zoom calls for the wrong reasons. But I do realise I'm the last thing probably today standing between you and lunch, so I'll keep it fairly quick. Paul and Sonia have done a great job in giving you an insight about the urban water cycle, but I just want to cover off on the Unity Water perspective to start with. So you can just flip to the next slide. So Unity Water is on the sunny coast, and we deliver water and sewage services to about 791,000 people across Noosa, Sunshine Coast and Moreton Bay local government areas. We go as far north as Karoi, as far west as Kenilworth, and as far south as Sandford. Next slide. What we'd like to say here at Unity Water is if we combined our water and sewage mains, we'd make it from Brisbane to Vancouver. So let's face it, at the time we're in these current COVID challenges, it's probably the only travel we can dream of at the moment. We get our bulk water from SEQ Water, and then our kit treats and delivers it direct to customers. And we've got about 780 sewage pump stations, 17 sewage treatment plants, 70 water pump stations, and 103 water reservoirs. The next slide. So I hope, and I guess my colleagues will probably agree when I say there is always a challenge in water and waste. And right now we are moving quickly into drought-like conditions, and we're forecast to hit our first trigger of 60% combined storage levels in Southeast Queensland by early September. If not, I think they've just revised, it might be late August. Now, if this forecast is correct and we continue moving the way that we are, we think that will hit 50% combined storage level triggers by February next year. Now, 50% for us means water restrictions for the whole community. So while it seems we have some time to prepare, our customer insights and lessons learned from millennial drought suggest quite the opposite. So at Unity Water, we engage our customers every quarter to monitor sentiment and satisfaction. And for the last 12 months, we overlaid behavioural change queries on top of that. And that's in line with our drought forecasts. Back in December last year, our survey suggested a considerable gap in awareness and concern for water supply. So how much water we had. And about 1 in 3 were lacking any awareness about where we were currently sitting. We revisit that recently in June this year, and we nearly doubled that. So now 6 in 10 people, or about 59%, have a lack of awareness or concern for water security and water supply. Now, this 6 in 10 believe that the water levels are fine. They are reducing, but it's not really seen as a problem to these people, and that we can just rely on the summer rain. We've also seen a doubling in the number of people admitting to be unsure about the water level situation. So that was 11% in December 2019. It's now about 21%. So from a consumer behaviour perspective, this really rings a few alarm bells for us. Mostly it means we're starting later in our change journey, and we have more work to do when it gets customers over the line to take action and reduce their consumption. So we're about 150 litres on average per person per day at the moment in our Unity Water patch. As we move down our drought triggers, so from 60% to 50, 40 and so on, we really start targeting people at the 120. So that was our millennial drought target as well. Next slide. So considering this in terms of awareness and where we currently sit with perception, we have the added challenge of COVID. And we're basically starting with people from that pre-contemplation phase of change, of behavioural change. So the reason why it's worth mentioning COVID is what it actually means for behavioural change. Our customers in our community have been impacted significantly over the last 6 months by COVID. And if I was to take it back even further, I'd say the last 18 months have been pretty challenging when it comes to national or international crises that we face together. So in Australia alone, we've had bushfire, we've had drought-like conditions, we've gone into COVID, and now we're coming back into drought-like conditions. So this really places an immense pressure on our community to respond. So their resilience is depleting, and also our message cut through is becoming increasingly harder. So we tested this view in our most recent research with our customers, and what we found is that COVID-19 has been attributed to using more water. So 1 in 3 self-report as using more water during this period, and around half report using the same amount of water before COVID restrictions were in place. This is largely consistent across light, moderate and heavy users, and this is just residential customers, not commercial. The change here has been that pre-COVID, moderate to heavy users tended to claim more water use than light users, and right now they're not, and they're normalising their water use as about the same as average. So we know this group was more likely sitting in the pre-contemplation stage, that they start their behavioural change journey right there, so they haven't shifted along that spectrum at all. And this is a problem for us in addressing those heavy water users. And importantly, comms will need to deal with perceptions of use and not just actual use, because they perceive they are using a lot less than what they actually are. Next slide. So those insights looked at our whole customer base and fairly homogeneously, more around consumption than anything. But to put real changes in, to make a dent in behaviours and make that real change, we have to go deeper. So we use advanced analytics to identify our greatest challenge groups and also those quick wins for us. Now, in terms of gaps in awareness for drought, they've grown across the board, but there are some key groups that remain less aware or more concerned with droughts. And I am sorry to say to all the males under 45 years old, that's you. It also is renters who pay their water bills and those who live comfortably or within their means. So these people are more likely not to care about a higher bill. So I don't care about a higher bill, therefore I don't care how much water I use. And in fact, I'm more concerned about my comfort. So I'd like to be comforted with the fact that I can use water whenever I can, rather than trying to monitor or reduce my water consumption. And we look at that from a regional perspective. All regions have become less concerned with drought, but Sunny Coast and Noosa are more likely to believe that water levels are okay. And then in December, Noosa was less likely to take action. So Moreton Bay, on the other hand, are a little more drought conscious, and they perceive the situation will get worse in 12 months. So you can see that there's some regional and individual changes there as well. Next slide. We can go even deeper with our analysis and look at water savings and those, I guess, those big clumpy segments that we would like to target to get the most value out of this behavioural change and also get the most water savings. So they're our three chunky groups, if you like, or that higher segmentation that we're looking at. So pool owners on average use about 120 litres per household more per day than the average household without a pool. So that's about 200 litres per person per day. We know that there's about, or we estimate there's about 63,000 registered pools in our region. So that's about 29% of our residential customer base, and only 18% of those customers have pool covers, which we know significantly drop any water loss. The other group would be large and concealed leaks. So they contributed heavily to overall consumption. And roughly across our area, there was about 7.3, they accounted for 7.3% of total residential consumption. So that's pretty significant. And then lastly would be high consumption users. I don't know if you can see that graph on the far bottom right. They are people who have a household consumption above 5,000 litres per day. And if you squint really closely, you can see that most of them are in Noosa. They must have the really big pools. But that actually accounts for 13.14% of our total consumption. So some pretty big groups to tackle and some pretty big water savings that we can find. Of course, with behavioural change, next slide, we can't just tell people what to do and they'll just do it. So what we're really looking at is how do we reduce consumption from our about 150 litres a day down to 120 with a disengaged community, and that's what we're facing at the moment. How do we make the biggest impact from a water saving perspective that also accounts for people's acceptability? So introducing restrictions isn't just as easy as slapping it in the paper and, paper, I don't know who reads paper anymore, I do, but slapping it somewhere and asking people to follow those. It's a level of acceptability and tolerance with those. So there is an expectation from our community. We would have counted for how much water we actually needed, and why should they have to bear the brunt of us not considering that and not planning better for the future? And then how do we successfully navigate from one public issue like COVID, and like I said, it's actually been a stream of those over the last 18 months, to another, and continually ask our community to respond to such challenges. That's it.
Thank you so much, Jana, for that. So many challenges coming up ahead. Because before COVID-19, if you all remember, we had bushfires. And that was still this year. So, so if any out there is still like, oh, this is water, and all these people thinking, oh, we're fine. Think like back to December, New Year, we were all celebrating. And if someone told you that in July you wouldn't be able to go to the Gold Coast from Brisbane, you were like. So I think there's such a great challenge that Jana is sharing with us, and yes, I don't envy the people who have to figure it out. Let me share my screen. There we go. Terrific. So we have some time for some Q&A. You can ask a question about the challenges. You can ask questions about how we will go about the program. You can ask anything. Keep in mind, we will cover the next steps and how you can get involved, how you can apply, how you can find team members. We will cover these things. It's mostly questions for our speakers today. We'll cover the rest later. So John Alabi is asking if we're recording. We're recording this presentation, and the slides we will make all available to everyone who has registered to the session. So both everyone here and there's people who haven't been able to make it. Do we have any other questions? You can unmute yourself also if you want to ask it, and or you can write it on the chat. So we have a question from Pauline for urban utilities. So how does Anamox reduce the water treatment energy consumption? So it's quite technical. I don't know if maybe Justin wants to take that and provide maybe a high level description or explanation.
Is there any chance we can go back to one of my slides? Is that possible? Just give that better explanation.
Yes, Kim, can you share that? Stop mine.
Sure can. Just 1 second, guys. Let me find it.
It is great to see some of you already from some of the programs we're running. So I know I can recognize some of your names. Welcome everyone. It's so great to see you.
So if you could just go down to the slide below this one. That one there, yeah. So Anamox, it stands for anaerobic ammonium oxidization. So the reason why it's able to provide cheaper wastewater treatment costs, it basically shortcuts the nitrogen cycle. So what we see in the plant is we get ammonia, which is one of the nutrients. It's NH4, and typically we have to add oxygen in the first step, which goes from ammonia to nitrite, NO2, and then oxygen to NO3. And then we add carbon source, which is ethanol at the plant, which is a cost to remove that nitrate as nitrogen gas. So what Anamox enables is it only requires half of the ammonia to be oxidized, so you're using substantially less oxygen, and then it's able to shortcut this nitrification cycle. And so that's where the benefit comes from, because you basically using, as I said, 60% less oxygen, and we don't require the chemical requirements, so you're reducing your operating costs, bringing down the cost of treatment. Hope that's not, is that?
That's the explanation. Some of us might not get it, but hopefully some have also. I think in that technicality, we definitely have students from all faculties. There's also another question for urban utilities. Are there currently any partnerships with final users for phosphorus or ammonia? For example, can you distribute that to agriculture?
So I guess there's partnerships indirectly through, you know, we have farmers and golf courses and race courses who use our recycled water. So the nutrients are in the recycled water. And we certainly, the biosolids, which is full of nutrients, gets transported out west to farmland. So that certainly is kind of a partnership with land users and with agriculture. Not anything sort of directly at the moment, but we are looking into it in terms of, you know, phosphorus as a fertilizer, kind of, you know, as a nutrient on its own, but certainly within the water and the solid stream, yes.
Sweet, thanks for that, Sonia. We have a question for Jana relating the losses from infrastructure. So was the 7% loss within the residential property?
Residential, Yeah.
And how does that compare to losses from water distribution pipes?
I don't know what the percentage is. It's pretty low actually, but I'll have to get that. But we have quite sophisticated leak detection tools within our network. We've got a program called Takadu that really tackled that issue for us, and we've seen significant drop in the last 12 to 24 months. I'll have to get the actual percentage though.
So good. And we have a question regarding water and energy. I wonder, maybe Paul, maybe you're a good person to answer this. It's what are the relationship between water and energy? And we need water for electricity, and we need electricity for water as well. So I wonder if in that dam sort of
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, we do have some hydroelectricity facilities, I guess, around Wivenhoe. But yeah, I mean, for SEQ Waters, continually looking at how do we reduce, I guess, our energy footprint, and how do we use energy more efficiently. Particularly, I guess, when we look at, you know, we might have some water treatment processes that are high energy use, such as, you know, desalination uses higher energy use compared to recycled water. So that's something that, yeah, there's a whole team that look into that, and just you know, trying to minimize our energy footprint.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is more for Unity or urban utilities. How does industrial use compare to household usage? And are there any programs in place to sort of discourage irresponsible use?
Yeah, many. So we have a whole team that look after C&I customers, commercial and industrial, and our business customers. So we have different programs that encourage behavioural change by those users, and we work with them to see how we can get their operations to change effectively, so that they can reduce their consumption. We have account managers for our big users that really work hand in hand with those industrial and commercial customers to try and to do that on our behalf.
I guess it's easier to engage with those bigger customers because you know them, versus the households where you need to have more behavioral change programs.
Yeah, you can imagine it's quite a challenge to get businesses to change their operations. So there's an economic impact of that. But yeah, as a, you know, from a residential perspective, you're really starting from a baseline of not much awareness or concern, maybe more interested in looking at cat videos on YouTube than thinking about this stuff. So you've really got to cut through at a different level, whereas the businesses, we have that existing relationship that we can work with them on. But yeah, obviously quite a big impact to their operations and their to their income if we have to change it. Yeah,
absolutely. I wonder if there's any community development students out there, or even psychologists, and then there's so much on that. Evelyn is asking if we'll have information available on the internet relating to the water infrastructure and the processes. So we'll make available this slide with the information they provided. And our partners have also shared with us some reports that we will make available on the website. So really the website and the emails that we'll send you are your main source of information to start with. But then you can go out there. A lot of this information is out there. You can find it on reports, industry reports. So we definitely encourage you to sort of make use of these skills that you're acquiring in the university as well, and to do some research on what's going on. And then you can complement that with, and we'll talk about this later, but in a few minutes, with talking and engaging with the partners themselves. There's a question for me. So Kenta is wondering if the target community of solutions we are to develop over the course of this program is supposed to be Southeast Queensland or could be elsewhere. That's a great question. I tend to think that usually these type of solutions could be taken elsewhere as well. My suggestion is try to be local, because then you'll be able to engage with our partners. So you have an extra benefit in that you'll be able also to test and to prototype locally, which is going to be a lot easier than testing and prototyping solutions across the world, especially with COVID-19 situation. So my suggestion, try to go local try to start very small so that you can expand to other places. But if you can start where you're living. Now, if you're joining us from somewhere else in the world because you cannot travel here, then we can have that conversation. Definitely send me an email. We have a question.
Sorry, Thomas, this is Sandy. Just a quick add to that is that you're right. Keep it local, but from a WaterStart perspective, we can promote any ideas out across our network as well, which is global. So, yeah. So there'll be great exposure out across our global reach.
Oh, thanks for that. And yeah, that's terrific. That's a really great point. We have a question for SEQ Water. Are there any nature-based solutions in place for water across the catchment? For example, wetlands for filtration and storage? Oh, Paul, you are on mute. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I guess a lot of the nature-based solutions at the moment, as far as I'm aware, is on protecting our catchments, reducing nutrients in our waterways, and sediment transport in our waterways. I'm not aware of any nature-based solutions such as wetlands to treat water. I guess that's what that question's meaning, but I'm happy to follow up and report back.
Tough questions there.
Yeah.
Well, we have another one for you. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this one, but what's the expectations for the next drought season? Are you planning on building more dams or aiming to use more groundwater?
I think one of the, and I probably highlighted it in my presentation, is when looking to provide, water in a drought scenario. Obviously, dams are reliant on rain. So I guess if you don't have rain necessarily, having more dams doesn't necessarily solve the problem. So I guess that's one of the things that SEQ Water is looking into, like what's the best solution for providing water into the future, and if we don't get rain, if it's a longer drought, how do we do that? We do, if you go online to our website, you can see our drought response plan, and that shows different dam levels for the SEQ Water grid, how we supply that water. So there'll be a point where we switch on to full capacity at a desalination plant, and then there's recommissioning of the Western Corridor. So yeah, so at the moment there are plans, but yeah, it's a good question. But I guess groundwater to a lesser extent, but it's still reliant on rain, I guess. So there are disadvantages there as well.
I think we're asking the right questions also. These tough questions means there's so many challenges that students can go after. So I think we're going in the right direction here. Andy, I wonder if you know, if you have an answer for this, but what country is the leader in water recycling or water innovation in general? Damien says he knows the Nordic countries are quite green in this aspect. As we are surrounded by seawater, why is it that we are not utilizing more of this resource?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So thanks, Damien, for that. I think you're right in terms of different countries face a different picture relevant to climate change. I'll give you an example. Las Vegas, which relies heavily on seasonal melts, is now starting to actually see that the snow melt is becoming less and less. We here in Queensland, of course, don't have the same issues and heavily rely a lot more on desalination and other ways that we can reuse water. The problem with us Aussies is that we seem to have a stigma about recycled water. And what does that mean? So you're right. There are horses for courses. There are different countries that have different specific issues relevant to water use. And I think based on that, every region around the globe is actually undertaking different innovations relevant to the targets that they have to achieve. In Australia, there's a lot more investment going on in desalination, naturally, and particularly around how we get better with water recycling. We are certainly getting a lot greener here in Australia, relevant to the circular economy, which our team today has talked about. and that's going to be a big focus moving forward.
Thanks, Andy. I'd like to add that here in Brisbane, we have these amazing combination of partners that are taking the time to engage with university students and with the university. We have the universities that provide all the knowledge. So it is a bit of we have all the ingredients to create good, important, and of course we have the challenges which drive the innovation, like all the speakers mentioned. So we have all the ingredients ready for really significant innovation, and that then we can share with the world. And also we have partners that can help share that innovation with the world. So I think we're at a place where it just takes leadership, and it just takes us to take the next step and lead, which is amazing. John Alloy says, I think we need to talk more about water use and behavior change. So Jana, you have a convert over there. Agreeing. So Rob, a question for me. So how are we going to engage with people who like to work on, I'll talk about teams in a minute. Kenta is saying thanks. I think we'll take this last question. Which industrial sectors or activities have a growth rate in water consumption that could be considered worrying? And which industrial sectors are leaders in water innovation practices? I don't know if anyone has an answer on that.
My take on that, Thomas, would be agriculture, of course, is about 80% of the water that we use here in Australia. And you've got electricity, which we've talked about before, which is actually an ever-increasing water consumer. And funnily enough, the mining sector is a very large consumer of water. All of those sectors are very keen on lowering their operating costs relevant to the cost of water. So there is a really big driver in those industry sectors to actually innovate and be leaders in their field.
And those are big sectors also here, I guess. So for in business terms, for everyone, you have some really powerful customers there,
Yes.
and you can work jointly with the water suppliers and treatment plants and everything. So these industries are ripe for innovation, I think. I'll move on here. Thanks everyone for your questions. So next steps, you need to find your team. If you already have a team, that's all good. Jump in and register your team. You can sort of scan the code to jump into Slack. If you don't have a team, you must find a team. So if you jump into Slack, we're gonna help you find team members that are aligned with what you want to do and what you care for. So after this session, we'll email you with the details to register for the challenge, and also so how to use Slack and how to create this Slack channel and to go about it. Once you have your team, you need to choose a problem. Okay, so we've narrowed this down a little bit on the different focus areas. So ideally, you start to focus and start to narrow it down, and we will ask you to nominate one area to help define your problem solution. Okay, so you can take a few days to understand what's going on with all these possibilities, but then you gotta choose one more specific area, and then you gotta register your team with the problem that you want to work on, and you are good to go. Remember that you can sort of, that's just a problem. You can join our programs if you haven't already. Most of our programs have begun, unfortunately, but I know that some of you are already. You can bring this problem into any of the ventures programs if you're doing them already, and use that to help you advance your going from a problem to a solution. Or you can also engage with our videos. So we will make all this available for you through the email. So please check your emails, be sort of conscious that you're gonna get information through emails, and just keep an eye on them, because I know everyone gets so much emailing these days. Ismail asks, oh, hey Ismail, how are you? I just lost you. Are alumni allowed to participate? Kylie, can you remind me? I think it's for undergraduates and postgraduates. I don't know if Kylie's.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi,
Okay,
Tomas.
Kylie.
Yes, it is for current students at all levels of study, from undergraduate through to postgraduate and PhD students, but this is one for current students.
Oh, so there you go, Ismail. You gotta be a current student. Oh, Sonia is answering a bio question, so you can know. So Paulina, hopefully I answered your question on how to find a team, how you make sure you are registered. Just follow the steps in the email we'll send you. You are not registered yet. This registration that you submitted was for the information session. So you're gonna we'll use the email that you inputted to send you more information. And if you have any questions, as always, you can email our mailbox, or you can email myself as well. You'll find me somewhere on the internet. I'm fairly easy to find, I think. I think that is all we have for today. I want to say a very big thanks to all our partners here, Jana, Paul, Andrew, Kim, Justin, Sonia. I didn't forget anyone, I think. Thank you also, Jess Gallagher. Jana, I said Jana, didn't I? I thought, okay, there we go. We got everything. That's the trick when you start to list people, right? You always, I always forget someone. But this has been amazing. I hope everyone understands how much urgency we have to do this and how much potential to take on some of these challenges. And we have everything for you to go ahead and do it. We have the process, we have the people, we have the support, we have prices. So it's just missing you, your efforts, and some of your time to make this happen. So hopefully we'll see you in the challenge. We are looking forward to engaging with you. If you join the challenge, you will have more meetings with mentors from industry. So it's something that we haven't mentioned. You'll get this information, but you'll be able to interact in small groups directly with a person that works in one of our partners. So you'll be able to really get to understand this. So there's some more questions coming through the chat. Please email those questions. Unfortunately, we need to close this session. So send those questions through. With that further ado, I think just if anyone wants to say some final words, I don't know, Andy, if you want to say anything, or Jess. This is all we have.
Just a quick one from me, Thomas. Just a quick thank you to you and to Kylie for the support in the background, and particularly our members and partners today, A, for their time, B, for their insights and knowledge. It is so valuable to have your expertise and your warmth and participation in this process. We are, on behalf of WaterStart and UQ, we're very grateful for Urban Unity Water and for Sec Water to be involved in this important initiative.
Yeah, Thomas, I just want to reiterate, so big thanks to our partners, special thanks to Andrew and Kim, who have been so enthusiastic about this challenge from day one. To all the students on the line, these are real problems. You're going to be working with mentors across this key industry, as well as researchers and academics across UQ. So maximise the opportunity, throw yourself into it, form teams, talk to people who haven't otherwise engaged in entrepreneurship programs, because really we need all different perspectives from all different disciplines. So get everybody involved. But thanks everybody for joining, and yeah, we look forward to next steps.
All right, there we go. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.